when you wake up in the morning, before you wake up, smile. Just smile. 80% of my guests have been through something horrific where they've had to make a change. So that change often occurs when the crisis hits, because when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of making a change. Yeah. And the podcast, the fear of judgment going into that, and even like people seeing me do these reels and it feels cringy. Now I'm over that. 6 weeks after I left, I was rushed into hospital with septic shock in the bile duct. Now, I don't do drugs. I don't drink. So what else is going wrong? I really put too much bad food into my body. I might have did a pleasure eating, staying up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning because I didn't want the next day to come. Yeah. So I reversed ankylosing spondylitis in my lower back.
What?
I reversed, not cured, ankylosing spondylitis. It's an autoimmune.
What the hell's that? Welcome to Talk Design Podcast, the space where creativity meets conversation. I'm Adrian Ramsay, your host. And as someone deeply entrenched in the world of design, I'm thrilled to introduce you to the minds that inspire me in the hope that they will spark something special within you too. From a design past crafting women's swimwear to pushing the boundaries of performance sportswear, from mountaineering to international yachting to implementing systematic innovation solutions that transcend boundaries in the aerospace industry, my heart remains rooted in architecture and exploring the emotional tapestry woven by built spaces is my fascination. My journey in design has been what can only be described as a life of design. I want to thank you for lending me your ears. I'm eager to embark on this next episode together. My guest on Talk Design today is Andrew White, aka Andy. And Andrew is like a fascinating guy, and I'm really excited to have a chat with him. We've had multiple chats over, months. And with that, we kind of feel like we really know each other, yet we're yet to meet in real person. But Andrew has a podcast called Leading Our Own Way. And I discovered him through a really good mate of mine, Trav Bell, the bucket list guy. He's also a really good mate of Andy's. And with that, Trav actually introduced us and said, boys, you should talk. You guys should talk. And I think Trav just thought I needed help. And so he thought maybe Andy could help me, because Andy works a lot with, he's a big sports fan, big basketball fan. That's one thing. But also with mental health. And a lot of his podcast covers a lot of great mental health subjects. And we were just saying before, like health. Well, there's physical and there's mental, and they're not separated. So let's dig in, man. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Adrian. It's been a pleasure knowing you over the last few months, like you just mentioned, but it's a pleasure to be on someone else's podcast too.
It is so cool, eh? When podcasting with podcasters, it's like dogs that recognize each other and they wag their tail a bit faster. They're like, oh, there we go. We know something.
I know, right? Yeah, we've got something in common for sure. And people used to tell me, you'll meet people like yourself. I'm like, I don't know how, but now the world has opened up. It's incredible. And now we all have the mutual people as well, mutual friends, right? It's weird.
Yeah. Well, what I love about it is that obviously, like anybody in our business can build a community of people in their business. I don't know that podcasting is such as a business in the sense of that it's about the commerce, it's about the education, it's about the learning and the growth. And the community is our way of just sharing what we want to learn.
And that's how I look at it. I look at it actually as my own personal diary. It's just open to everybody if they choose to come and listen,
Exactly. I'm very, very similar. I always go, when somebody says, oh, I listen to your podcast, I go, it's you. I've been dying to meet you.
You're the one.
That's it. I knew there was somebody out there that was listening. But that part of it is, it's really neat. And we get to get so many diverse things. Now, my podcast is generally about design, so a lot of architecture, interior design, and creativity. With that, I look at the thing that our psychology and our physiology are so linked. And when Trav said to me, oh, check you out, I went, oh, I'll go and listen to some. And then I kind of got hooked. Like
Oh,
sometimes people say, go and listen to someone. And I go, yeah, yeah, thanks. Thanks. I won't get that hour back. But I got hooked and I went,
oh,
oh, cool. And the funny thing is I get something from your guests, but I get hooked on your delivery. I get hooked on your style. I get hooked on what it is. And there's other podcasters similar I'm kind of hooked on the host. And sometimes I'll go, oh yeah, that guest didn't really resonate with me. But the host is the deliverer, and I really get that. And I think, and I relate that to architecture or relate it to sports. In sports, you would say you could get hooked on a coach and
mm,
on the coach's style.
yeah,
And in architecture or in interior design, anything in that built structure, you get hooked on the journey of these different people that make it dynamic. So I really wanted to have you on here because I've been doing what I call my wellness intelligence edit. And I know fancy, it's called WI. I've heard this thing called AI, but this is WI.
I
And
like that.
yeah, wellness intelligence. And I'm expanding a whole lot of stuff in the wellness intelligence space to help my clients,
Love that.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to kick off. Look, you've got some kind of origin story. Somewhere you were a bratty little kid and a little bit audacious, I'm sure. And take us back to, this origin story. You got a funny accent. You came from another place.
I did. Well,
Unless
I
you're from
came from
Britain.
Manchester, where you lived.
Yeah,
Yeah, a bit.
exactly.
Yeah.
Manchester. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm 42 years old. Came from Manchester, England, and grew up. I grew up with my mother and my grandmother, and met my dad a little bit later in life, around 9, 10 years old. I can't remember the exact age. Um, you know, I have a good relationship with them all. I had a good childhood. My mum was a single parent, but she did spoil me. I was an only child, so I was very spoiled. I pretty much got what I wanted, but uh, with love and some materialistic things. But she wasn't like wealthy. I didn't have like a big fancy house and loads of cars, and I
Wasn't
just kind of
Cheshire.
it wasn't quite Cheshire, no. But yeah, Winslow. If you've heard of Winslow, but I had a good childhood. Like I went to a decent school. You had the normal nerves. I looked over my shoulder walking to school because you always was fear that you might get mugged or something like that. But no, generally speaking, I grew up pretty happy and had
And blessed.
yeah, look, blessed with love and the women around me, my mum and gran for sure. My gran brought me up in the old-fashioned way. The gentleman walks on the outside of the road to protect the ladies on the inside, and things like that. Yeah. But I grew up playing basketball. I got in the game of basketball around 10 years old, and I like to think it took me off the streets. Not that I'm saying I would have ended up there, but I think I wasn't the
Gave
guy
you a purpose.
Yeah, for sure. It gave me a purpose, and I was a small dude, really. I was only just under 5'11", and the basketball programs would put me at 6 foot, but I wasn't. I'm not. But yeah, no, I traveled the world doing a little bit of basketball. Went to NBA games and all-star games in the States, and watched Michael Jordan play. I've always been a guy that wanted to tick the boxes off. Reach. There's a goal. I want to go and get it, and more often than not, I would go and get it. And sometimes I'd fail, and I'd get back up and. Probably why I ended up in Australia, but played basketball and played for Manchester Giants, Manchester Magic, and then I became a head coach of Stockport for the younger ones, and then I was the youngest coach to take a under 16s, under 14s team to the national finals. Wow. Done that a few times with as a head coach, and I was an assistant coach as well. Went to the national finals twice with that team and that particular squad. So basketball is a huge part of my life, and then moved over here. Did the whole backpacking thing, another thing I wanted to achieve and see all the world and experience different cultures. Got involved in basketball.
Kangaroos and platypuses were real. Yeah.
Yeah. And the what do you call it here? You guys pick on the English thingy bear, drop bears.
Do you remember, did you ever happen to see the Bundaberg rum ad with the drop bears?
Oh, no.
Where there's a guy, tall, dark, handsome guy, talking to the blonde, Swedish-looking tourist. Anyway, this for everybody listening, if you've ever heard of a drop bear, which is an Australian legend and myth, there's look up Bundaberg Run drop bears, and you will see Rory and Jannica Williamson, and they met on that day. And Rory's an actor. His father is one of probably most successful playwright in Australia. And Yanni, his wife, is a producer and like TV, film. And I met them because they're clients of mine. And they met on that day. They were both talent for the drop bear ad for Bundaberg Run. So I should see if we can find it and play it on this. I'll put a note and see if the editors can find it. Yeah, exactly. So yes, once you got through the fear of the drop bears.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I did my degree and all of that in marketing, and realized I didn't want to do any of that, and was a bit of a financial advisor in the UK, unofficially helped people with their debt and earned quite some good money, and that really funded my trip. But just funded my trip, but making money off people's debt, and I hated that. So teaching kind of drew me in.
Love that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't for the bank; it was a debt management company.
No, but I get that. But the banks love making money off people's debt. That's the whole game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But I don't know what it was. It didn't sit right with me after a while, and I used that money to go and travel. So that's probably contradicting myself slightly, but there we go. And then so Australia I fell in love with, and came back on holiday in 2011 and 2012. I wanted to be a primary school teacher, so I applied for Australia. Couldn't get on the course in England because of the recession had hit, and it was really hard to get on the course there. I thought I'd open myself up with another avenue, right? Create another avenue. So I did. Applied to Australia, not thinking I would get on, but I did. So I sold my car, sold everything I had, came over with $800 in my Commonwealth bank account at the time, and started studying. But I spent $25,000 on that course, which I did not have. But somehow I made it happen. A friend of mine actually gave me some money to borrowed. Borrowed it. I gave it back, but and I sold my car in the UK, and the idea was just to work for the year. Got sponsored, and I never really went back to work there. I've been home many times, but never moved back and had my children here, my two children here. So that was it really. And that's where the journey became from the origin part. Anyway,
that's fascinating. That's really cool. And I suppose correct me if I'm wrong, as a golden-haired child that was overindulged, you never sensed failure.
No, I think basketball really helped me with that, to be fair. And I was pretty smart at school. My gran was pretty strict. But my mum played that father role, going to work. I'd see her at night. She would go out with her friends on a Friday night, and rightly so. She's probably stressed, whatnot, but from the work and working hard, all of that. And she was actually bullied at work as well, which was part of my journey. So I can relate to my mother in that. But my gran was pretty strict. I remember my gran being quite angry quite a lot. So I wouldn't say I got everything I want. I definitely grew up feeling tense sometimes, frequently because of my gran, but I loved my gran. I adored her, and it was very sad when she died. And I remember her dying during my big exams at high school, what we call the GCSEs. She died on a Sunday night and had a big chemistry one the next day. So it was a really bad time of my educational part of my life, anyway. So, I did fail. I've always been comfortable with failure, but it just always motivated me or gave me a good habit to keep chasing and keep getting up.
Well, I deliberately posed the question that way to see where you'd go, because sports people, in my experience, sports people who achieve are fantastic failures. They fail. Everything is about how many failures you can get through. It's kind of like sales calls. If you've got to make 100 to get 10, just get through the 90 as fast as possible to get to the 10. And sports people fail forward, and they stay disciplined in their outcomes. And there's a guy that had a little while ago on the podcast. He's been on twice. A guy called Mike Roberts, and he's called the Converse Cowboy, and he is always in a cowboy hat, well, just about always, but he wears Converse shoes. And he came from baseball,
Mm-hmm.
and he got retired from baseball when they didn't pick him. It's like apparently they didn't have the faith in him that he had. But he went into some sales roles and stuff, and now he has a incredibly big property portfolio, like big. And with that, he wrote a book just recently called Perspective is a Verb. And with that, this whole thing of being comfortable with failure, and being comfortable enough with failure that you step off it and you step off it and you step off it. You know that as long as you keep moving forward and improving, then there's something better. And I was talking to an architect the other day, and we were saying, he's been doing it for 40 something years, and he said he'll die with his pencil in his hand. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. And he'll be a better architect when he dies than the one he is today. Because you learn from every project, and it's like you're always learning forward. So, yeah, while a lot of people see failure as something to avoid instead of something to step off and step up, yeah, I think it's right.
And I think that's a modern day problem right now. I don't think I've really kind of in the last, I'm sure we'll get into it, but the last 4 years, I kind of stepped away from the education system. And this is not the reason why. It's my own personal journey of why I stepped away. But in the education system, even coming from the parents and even from the government level, we are not allowing people to fail. We're not allowing people to get it wrong and be comfortable getting it wrong. We're now giving the answers, or we're reading from scripts in our education settings. We really need to allow these kids to get it wrong. And, I'll put it down to an example in school. If a kid can't find a pencil, this is not me being mean. Go and fix it. Find one. I'm not always going to be able to give you one. And it's these little habits I want these children to build some resilience over, because one day they're going to go for a job that they really, 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 really want, but they're not going to get it. And same with the person next to them. And I really want to prepare these kids and give them the tools to be able to cope with that. Not just kids anymore, adults too. And that's why I'm going to be helping corporate businesses in Tasmania next month, for example. I'm going to go and talk around mindset and then teach them about the brain and get them to think differently and get them uncomfortable, get them to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's fascinating stuff. And I think it's a major problem at the moment.
Now, I've got a question, because I love this part of it. Today, I spent, I was so blessed today. I should have been working.
Because we spoke all night last night.
Yeah, exactly. I had an appointment with a lady today that I had met once, and she is, I'd say, very spiritually connected. She's a very, very motivated and smart, like articulate woman. And anyway, she's looking for a new house to buy. It's already built. And I do my land whispering. And I said to her, hey, I'm all yours. You have till 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm all yours. Whatever you need. Just lean on me. I'm there for you. And so we went and visited some properties. And I was able to take her through some about my land whispering process. Where we were sitting, and I'd said to her, I'll pick you up, I'll take you, that way we can talk, and I can understand more of what you're looking for and stuff. We had a conversation around confidence and comfort. And would you describe yourself as more comfortable or confident? And you can be contextual.
Oh, that's a good question. See, my definition of confidence is understanding your flaws, but still holding yourself in high regard. And it took me a long point to get to that point. And I always used to very much doubt myself, imposter, but that was internal, right? But outside in the world, and I think again that's probably why I went through that workplace bullying scenario, is because I've come out very confident, very loud, but inside I was second guessing myself constantly, and nobody probably would have thought that. And people always talk about that line of confidence and arrogance as being a fine line. Well, actually, I don't understand with that definition I just mentioned. If you take one line away, there's a complete separate component to that. So if you only hold yourself in high regard, that's arrogance. If you only see the flaws in yourself, that's the opposite of confidence. But if you can do both, there's a huge separation between arrogance and confidence. I do doubt myself, but I like now with the journey I've been on in the last 4 years in particular, I definitely still hold myself in high regard, because going into something new though, I'm like, me? Even like being here with you tonight, me? You want me here? But I know, again, I look back at the podcast and the book and the things I've learned over the last 4 years. That's not accidental. I'm good at it. I feel like I'm pretty good at it, and I enjoy it. So I'm confident, right? So I don't know. I don't know that
Are you comfortable?
See, again, right, speaking to all the guests, we talk about being comfortable with the uncomfortable, sitting in the fear but running into it, right? I interviewed a neuroscientist, Paul Taylor. He's Northern Irish, but he's living in Melbourne. He wrote a book called Death by Comfort, and his second book's called Hardiness. And I love the concept of getting through the struggle of jumping in freezing cold water every morning, and it sets you up beautifully for the day to get comfortable with those difficult scenarios that come your way. So am I comfortable? I'm content is probably a word that I like to go by, but am I comfortable? No, because guess what? I want the next thing. I want this podcast to reach the next milestone. Right. Yeah, but I'm also content where it is. So if it doesn't go there, I'm still happy. I'm still content. But if you don't thrive, if you don't look to keep moving forward, then I wouldn't be leading my own way. Hence the title of the podcast, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I do. So we had a fascinating conversation around this about what it meant. One of the things that I find in my design practices is the meaning of a word is totally contextual to the person who's using the word. When somebody says a word like confidence, we have our own frame of what that means. And I do a lot of work with my clients to understand what the meaning of a word is. And we did this thing around confidence and comfort. And she was saying, she thought she was more comfortable than necessarily confident. And she said, well, what about you? And I said, well, I actually think that I'm more confident. And I'm happy to be uncomfortable.
That's me.
Yeah, and she said, give me an example. I'm like, oh, shit. So, so I said, well, I'm not going to overthink things to try and work something out. I will jump probably a little earlier than a lot of people. I'm confident that I can back myself in most situations. And I know that I'm going to be in discomfort when I'm in there. I know that I'm going to be going, oh shit, am I the imposter like you?
Yeah.
And then I back myself. I back myself into it and I go, okay, go. Come on. You've got this. And I have to have a lot of self-talk and that piece. So it's really interesting because we had such a good conversation today about it, and to hear your take on it, mine and yours is very, very similar. And now I'm going to start asking people more because I want to see what if there's a masculine and a feminine to comfort and confidence and where that sits, because that energy shift thing really says a lot to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Did you ask the lady what did she say?
She chose comfort, that she was comfortable, and a lot of that was she has done a lot of spiritual searching, a lot of self-awareness, a lot of helping others to beyond the spiritual side. Like she has a business that trains people basically to do TEDx talks. So she's created a business that does that very successfully, and she also has some other irons in the fire with other things as well. And with that, you know, she's happy to feel challenged, but she didn't necessarily see it as feeling confident. She just saw it as she's comfortable to be challenged. And so really it didn't matter which word we used at the end of the day. Her meaning and my meaning and your meaning were all very, very similar. It was just she saw it from the word comfort, and I saw it from the word of confident. And your take on that piece around, you know, overconfidence can just be arrogance or ignorance. You know, like there's this inability to be uncomfortable and learn, and then there's narcissism as well. Like there's these different levels of it. And I think that I think I regularly put myself in uncomfortable situations, but with you're capable. So get on your horse and get going, kind of thing. You know, that kind of thing.
I've been uncomfortable for the last 4 years, really. Like, you know, I left my career because of the environments I were in, and I wrote the book that I tell the kids, because I've gone into the casual setting of teaching so I could get rid of the stress, but also so I could build this platform. But I wrote the book, and I was like, I tell the kids, well, I'm not a writer. I've written a book.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the podcast, the fear of judgment going into that, and even like people seeing me do these reels, and it feels cringy. Now I'm over that. I've sat in that uncomfortability part of that process. I don't give two shits anymore. I don't have a mouth to swear, sorry. But you know,
we swear here.
Yeah. I thought you did. Yeah, I know you do. But
fuck yeah, we swear here.
And you know, I sat uncomfortable doing those reels, and I was worried about the judgment. But it's about chipping away at that, and then you get comfortable, and then you hit that next level of uncomfortability at, let's say, higher level. Then you chip away at that, and that you're just constantly growing, and you know, internally and externally, and that's when people might latch onto the show more, because they go, well, he's clearly over that. Maybe he's pretty good at it.
Well, forward momentum is growth as well, and so that forward momentum helps with that as well. Tell me about, like, I'm dyslexic, so people say to me, you know, Adrian, you should do a book, and I'm like, you don't want to see how I write, you know.
You're edited, though.
It'd be a scrambled egg, you know. That between dyslexia and ADHD, it might not fly. But anyway, that aside, you have written a book, and I want you to take me through going from the situation where, as you were saying, like being bullied at work, and making uncomfortable moves to get yourself to a place with backing your confidence to take yourself there. I think there's so many people that are bullied, and maybe not even know they're bullied particularly, and probably their mental health is affected without them realizing that. Can you share some of your journey with that, and then kind of relate it to some of the guests you've had on as well, and the journey that or what maybe you've learnt from their journeys that's helped you on your journey, and then putting together the book as well.
Yeah, well, remind me about the guests. I'll give you the journey of where it began from. So I come from Australia. I've been in the country about 2 years, and I won this National Teacher of the Year award. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the plaque now.
This is what you get when you are the National Teacher of the Year for the country.
Well, I got like $2,000 worth of resources for the school and the class, my personal classroom, and things like that. So a former Australian NBA player came to present the award to me, called Mark Bradkey. He's actually going to come on the podcast, believe it or not. He's part of my journey, and I met up with him not long ago, and I asked him, I said, "You're actually part of my journey. You don't actually realize that you're part of my journey." Not directly, but look, I'm not saying that is the reason why, but I learned many years later about this tall poppy syndrome. Australia seemed to, I don't know, have inherited from somewhere. I don't know, and I never really understood it.
I think we got it from the English, mate. Just quietly.
I don't know. I don't know. But somebody said, "That's the tall poppy syndrome." I'm like, what's that? You know, when someone's thriving and doing well, and so I won this award. I didn't ask to win the award. I was in my second year of my career. I was teaching an age group that I was not comfortable. I'd already been teaching in the UK in high school, so I was taking pieces of everybody I was working with. So I was by far nowhere near the best teacher. My own coaching philosophy would come in from the game of basketball. I know it's nothing related to the educational setting in the classroom, but you know, just the teaching components of how you talk and how you embrace people's personality and character, you can bring that in. And I learned a lot from the people I was working with. Took pieces of them, I'd lean on them. Like, I was not confident. I'd come across confident, but I'd lean on all of them anyway. And then I entered another year level, and I actually got along with this person as far as I thought I did.
You thought you did, yeah.
I thought I did, and I was actually really looking forward to working with this person. And like what you said before, I didn't actually realize it, that I was being bullied, and my partner saw it in emails, and I was like, oh no, because I always see the good in people, right? It was banter to me, but there would just be very small integral parts. Now, if you were to ask me what those were, the trauma of it's kind of missed it. Right, it's masked it over. It's very grey now. I'd be here for hours to actually go through the integral parts of it all, but chipping away daily, it just got gradually worse. And I'd question myself, and I'd lean back and lean on them more, and thought, well, they know more better than me, so I'll just do it. So then I got actually worse as a person, as a teacher maybe, and I lost a lot of confidence. And they jump on that insecurity of mine, but probably it was really their insecurity because of maybe that. But I can't prove it's that, right? I just going off that tall poppy. And I always say, look, if it was me, somebody should sit with me, talk to me. Let's talk it out. It's easily fixed if I was doing the wrong thing, but that would never came my way. And before you know it, came to a point where I'd heard and learned about gaslighting, and things would happen when people weren't around, and then when people were around, they were lovely to me. And I'm like, did that just happen?
Yeah, right.
No, it's me. It's me. It's clearly me. And I'd get up in the morning, and I'd found myself throwing up in the front garden before going to work, because that's the tiger, right? There's a tiger somewhere, and you can't run from the tiger like you could in the wild thousands of years ago.
Right.
But I'm going to the workplace. I'm sponsored by this place, so I couldn't leave this job because I was sponsored to stay in Australia. Yeah. So I was on the 457 visa at the time, it was called, and so I was fine, and I just thought I was ill. But looking back with everything I've learned, it was my body speaking to me, and I was living in fear, and it gradually got worse, and then something physical happened, and then the truth came out. And I'm not here to defame anybody else. That's just my side of the story. And it got quite bad. And a friend who didn't believe me, not that she didn't believe me, it was just more, I just don't think you're getting along with somebody. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm all right to not get along with somebody. The depth that they're going to destroy my soul is next level, but no one could see it because it was very smart. However, that friend saw the physical push on me one day, and I think she actually went through a bit of a mental health journey herself, not, going, oh, Andy's been coming to me and I've not been supporting him. And so that was quite sad for her, but that's fine. It wasn't about forgiveness, but it was cool. And so I spent the truth came out, and I spent the next year thinking I could move on because they were no longer there. It turned out to be 2, and they were no longer there at the school. So I thought I could move on. They're not here. The tiger's not here going to attack me. I'm safe. But my body went through this whole anxiety. I was paranoid. I was still very insecure. Second guessing myself. Yeah. For years, I would go to the toilet every single day, like 8-9 times, sweating with anxiety. And I'd take my shirt off to dry it under the hairdryer. Again, out there, pretty confident. No one would know I'm wearing that mask every day. And I started to learn about my body and just reflect. And I had my son 6 months after the bullying essentially finished, but I was still living in that very insecure, paranoid state. I thought that would fix me. I thought my son would fix me. It turned out I wasn't very present. We built the house on the other side of the bay from where we were living. So I moved 2 hours away. I thought, again, looking forward to that next dopamine hit. Bought a new fancy car. I thought that would fix me. I got my dream job. I was part of opening a school. I won't mention names of the school or who it was for, but I opened a private school, and it was my dream job. And I loved the fact that I was part of a journey to open a school, and a beautiful journey. I just entered another toxic environment, not being bullied, but just a toxic leadership style. And maybe it was triggered from the past, maybe, I don't know. But 6 weeks after, I just made the decision to leave because I was no longer sponsored. I was a permanent resident citizen now.
Right.
And just 6 weeks after I left, I was rushed into hospital with septic shock in the bile duct. Now, I don't do drugs. I don't drink. So what else is going wrong? I really put too much bad food into my body. I might have did a pleasure eating, staying up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning because I didn't want the next day to come. Eat some chips, eat some chocolate, more than you probably should, but not to the point where that part of my body was getting destroyed. And I was rushed into hospital, and I was 30 minutes away from entering a coma, and potentially my partner got the phone call and said, "Prepare for the worst tonight." So that really, I think the quote that I got from this book, actually, a quote that I got.
What's that book?
Live Like a Lobster. I think you listened to.
Yeah, I did. Awesome. Live like. Yep. Bridget Hancock. Yeah,
she's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Just so good. Yeah.
There's a quote in there that stuck with me, and I've worded it. I've learned it off by heart, but it basically goes on about change often occurs. Change often occurs when the pain of staying the same is greater than making. Oh my God, I've lost it now. Change often occurs. Crisis basically, usually, and again, 80%, bringing in the guest into your answer.
Yeah,
80% of my guests have been through something horrific where they've had to make a change. So that change often occurs when the crisis hits, because when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of making a change.
Yeah,
right. I got it right now.
Yeah. So you say that 80% of them have been through some sort of crisis. Here's you. We just talked about this, comfortable, not charmed, but comfortable, secure upbringing. And then you end up in this toxic environment, which I reckon probably almost everybody who's worked in any hierarchical structure would be able to find a parallel. How that parallel's affected them is another thing, but they'd be able to find a parallel.
Let's separate the two, though, right? Let's separate the two. So the first scenario was bullying, workplace bullying, which targeted at you and only you. Right. The next scenario, when I was part of the build, was toxic. So it's like the TEDx talk, right? I'd love to do a TEDx talk, but apparently, and don't quote me, so don't shout at me, TEDx, if you do listen to this, but I've been told that you're not allowed to say the word bullying or workplace bullying. You can only use the words toxic environment. Well, I'll go, well, no, because I've done both. So,
right. Well, check this with Carly, who
I
was with all day, and she trains people in TEDx. So, yeah.
So ask. I just wanted to separate the two because bullying is very common. Don't get me wrong. Toxic environments, I would say, is even more common than the bullying, but they're both.
So, scenario: if you live in whether it be at home or whether it be at work, in any space where you're spending a significant amount of time, where you're under constant criticism or negative judgment. This will shift your behaviors. And I'm a big fan of Alison Armstrong. I don't know whether you know Alison Armstrong, but anyway, she's a relationship coach. And she says men conceal. By nature, men conceal. And she often talks also about vulnerability and why men conceal. and where it's safe not to conceal, because weakness is a in a male female genre thing. Weakness, once it's seen, can't be not seen again, can't be unseen. And anyway, I think about this with, you're getting, say, bullied, or I don't know how it went down, but like this constant criticism, and it chips away at somebody's self-confidence. And with that, I think men just conceal that it's happening. They know it's happening, but they conceal it. They don't tell their wives or their partners or other people at work. They are men. They just sit with it and take it on.
I agree. I think the majority of men do. However, I've always been quite an emotional dude. Maybe it was the upbringing of being brought up by two women. Maybe, right? But my venting would be at the dog park. I would open up. I mean, I felt quite comfortable even sharing that. I would open up to the dog park. I repeated myself over and over and again. I was the exact opposite to anyone going home. But and like you say, concealing it and holding it in, suppressing everything. I did vent a lot. What I learned about venting is very, 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 very powerful. However, when you go to sleep at night, the brain resets and it goes through everything it needs to go through through the sleep process. But the next day it starts again. So venting constantly is a long-term fatigue, really. It becomes chronic stress. You actually need to hit. That's why that crisis point is so important, to make that change in your life. So for me, I did the venting and I could feel the body energy of the other person going, here we go again, or the eyes rolling, talking about it again. I was just coming from maybe a different angle to that same person every other day, or another person, but that same person I might speak to next Tuesday at the dog park too, or my friends or whoever. They'd always then relate back to their scenario. I don't need that right now. I just need you to hear me and not feel judged. So I did feel judged. I did feel the energy of the eyes and the body language, people turning around in mid-conversation, things like that. So I would say I was quite opposite to the typical bloke. And I know there are men out there who will open up, but I definitely did. And it still wasn't good enough. It's still, so when people say about men opening up, mate, please still open up. Absolutely. It could save lives and it will save lives. But I did. And I still felt terrible. So I needed to go through what I went through the second time to ultimately make that change. Right? It wasn't the bullying that broke me. It was the sepsis that broke me, the nearly death experience.
No kidding.
Broke me.
No kidding. You got close.
It was all part of it, though, right? It all built up to that. The body. You've read the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Yeah, it really does. Oh my God.
Yeah. I find but this piece came from you saying 80% of people. I go, maybe not. I don't know. But don't 100% of people have something within them or that's happened to them, some sort of sets of events or anything, single events that they carry some kind of trauma from. Now that may be defining their whole life, or it may not be defining their whole life. But they are trauma. It's got a shelf in there. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. No, it's got a shelf. It's got a space, and it's locked.
Yeah, I mean, look, the other percent of the people that I've not classed as being through anything, that doesn't mean they've even opened up about it, or they've not even thought about it on a conscious level. Yeah. So I do think I'm struggling to find. I keep asking the answer to I ask, and I probably will to you when you come on. Yeah. Right? Do you believe you need to hit a crisis point to make a change in your life? My honest answer is I feel like you do. I just can't prove it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's just my gut feeling. That's my intuition. And especially with the knowledge that I've gained from every guest, I do feel that we unfortunately need to. So when my friends are going through something, I just stop asking, are you okay? One of my guests actually said to him, ask them what your mental health state is on a scale of 0 being rock bottom and 10 being content, or whatever word you want to use. And they have to answer that. There's not are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Move on to the next one.
Do you know that that's such an interesting thing. I worked in corporate and in clothing. So I ran clothing, New Zealand's biggest clothing company. I was their design director, and I ran design globally for them. And in that, I had a team. When I first started there, I had a team of 7 or 9 or something, can't remember. And in there was this, I won't use her name, this fabulous girl who was anorexic, had zero experience with anorexia. And so I was in a deep learning curve with her, like a really deep learning curve, because I'm going, hold on, she's key in the team, yet she's unreliable because of her anorexia. She could become unreliable, could get sick, all those things. And her mental state was, up and down all over the place. And I kind of looked at the situation and I remember sitting down with the whole team on one of the days she was away. I said, we're going to have a very frank talk. Very, very frank talk. This is my wage bill that you guys all earn. This is the wage bill. This is what we churn out. This is the pieces that we churn out that I think is a total waste of time, but the company still requires us to do them. This is the things I think that we bring that are great value to the overall organization. And we have this particular girl, and we all know that she is struggling. And I'd like you all to give me some insight into how she's struggling. And so I asked them each individually, tell me about her. And they did. The team was mainly female, but not fully female. And I said, well, here's the thing. We can just fire her ass for non-performance. So it just went like kind of hard. We can fire her ass for non-performance. Too many sick days and all the rest. And I said, but I've got this department and overall our sales, I've got us in a really lovely, profitable position with the product that we're producing. And we weren't when I started there, but we are now. I said, we're selling pretty well. So I think that we have a responsibility to carry her. But we can't carry her and take her responsibility away from her. We have to keep her purpose. But it's all of us. If it's not all of us, I'm firing her. Who's in? If anybody had said no, they weren't in, I would have fired them.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would have been,
yeah. They maybe hadn't thought of it because of the emotional way that I created the whole thing. Anyway, they were all in. And I said, okay, I don't even know what it's going to take. I don't know. But if we need to pick up for her, if we need to cover her, it's us that's doing it. And me included. I might be the boss, but me included. If I have to stay late, if I have to come back and do something, if I have to cover it, I'll be here doing that as well. Anyway, so I went to her when she came back the next day, and from having a sick day, and I said to her, how are you going? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm okay, and I'm like, right. I said, well, I need some sort of gauge because I'm flying blind, and I'm happy to come and talk to your doctor with you and your psychologist with you if you think that can help. But I've got you. I've got you. You're safe here. You've got a job. You'll get paid. I've got you. And I'll go to war for you. If the powers that be in the company want to rattle the cage, I've got you. Don't panic. But I need to read. I need to understand. And so I said to her, how about we have a 1 to 10? Because I don't need you to explain yourself. Just like you said. Yeah. And if I'm walking down the hallway and I see you, I'll go, number, and you give me a number. And if it's below 5, I'm going to turn and walk with you. If it's above 5, you can sort your shit. and we know that 10's okay. We're headed towards 10. And I would walk past her in the hallway in the morning, and sometimes she might go 3. So I'd go, number. It was like I'd be like, morning, number. And she'd go, 3. And don't care where I was going, what I was doing, I would turn and I'd walk with her. And then I'd say, do you want to go somewhere to talk? What do you need? And just that little thing of telling her I had her back and telling her that everybody has her back, but I have her back and I will go to war for you. And that we had our code and she didn't have to explain anything. She didn't have to just, what do you need? At this point, if you're 3, then what do you need?
Mm.
And how can I deliver it, or can somebody else deliver it for you? I can't. I don't have the skills to deliver the psychology. But when you said that, it really reminded me of it. It's years since I've thought about that. But the thing is, as I was saying, like to the team, we're making enough money that I can carry this person. If that's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't give a fuck. It's a purpose for me to come to work and make sure that we work hard, well, and drive this business so that we can afford to not waste a person, not throw them on the heap. And I sat down with my GM and my MD. My MD, he was a tough little bastard. He wasn't very nice. But he was like, well, if it fails, then we'll take it out of your hide. And I'm like, fine, you come for me. Don't worry, you come for me. But yeah, my GM was just like, yeah, man, okay, don't drop the ball.
I think what you did there, apart from creating a safe space for her to come to and not feel worried, the amount of anxiety and guilt she would have had, even just calling in sick, would have added 100 times the amount of stress onto her shoulders. You took all that away by doing that. You weren't necessarily, her problems are still going to exist, but taking all that away allowed her to move forward with her own problems. Because, you're not a doctor, you're not an expert, like you said. You didn't know necessarily how to fix it, but sometimes you just need to hold space and sit and hear and listen and whatever. But do you know how many bosses don't care? So that would have been a breath of fresh air for her to feel that coming in. And maybe looking back, I don't know if you can reflect now, but did her absent days decrease?
Oh, yeah. She got healthy. And I wouldn't say she got healthy because of me.
No.
She got healthy because she, I think, got seen. If I was trying to go, she got seen and she got accepted. And it wasn't just me holding space for her. It was everybody holding space for her. Everybody, and I think the other thing, it changed the entire department where I demonstrated, not for that reason, but I demonstrated to all of them that if it's hard for you, I'm here. I'm here and I'll fight. I'll fight.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'd get other department heads sometimes that would go into that part of our offices and they would be like bullying my team. And I would be like, I would hear about it and I'd be straight down to their office and go, what the fuck are you doing in there? You don't go in there. And I banned a couple of our bullies, company bullies. I banned them from going in those rooms. And they were like, maybe not more senior, as senior as I was. And I'm like, you go in those rooms. If you go in there, you do not go in unless it's with me or my permission. You do not you do not go in those rooms.
Yeah.
And I go, otherwise I will take this to task. And my team thrived. Was ridiculous. And we thrived as a company. In fact, my general manager, he brought in a considerable amount more profit. And he got such a raking over the coals, such a hiding for bringing in so much profit. And this was a big learning for me. What he didn't do was he didn't declare it early enough for them to shift it around in the structure of all their companies. And suddenly he lands in there in the last quarter with $4 million extra profit on top of what he'd predicted. And he's going, yeah, like this. And they're going, yeah, come over here, because we're just about to get hit with a massive tax bill that we can't move enough of it fast enough.
But where they've got it wrong, though, right? He's not a businessman in that regard, maybe, as their level. So they should have been a better leader and set that out. So he would have come in with the right, because he's going in there, he's going, I've just made $4 extra million, and then he's been crushed for it.
Yeah.
That's creating a disconnect.
Mate, the number of drinks we had around the world where he goes, you'd think 4 million would make people smile. You know, it became a joke, became an internal joke. And you know, to this day, we still joke about it. Like years and years and years later, him and I still joke about it. Remember having too much money?
We go back to the word before, like with that lady that you helped, you know, it's creating connection, and everyone thinks connection is easy, but there's layers before that word of connection. There's, I think, like 3 or 4 sections before. It's the definition for me for connection is feeling seen, heard, and valued. But even that doesn't create that just creates a bridge to hope. And when you've got hope, you can feel safe. And when you've got safety, what's the word you mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah.
And feeling safe, that's your connection. So you can do some of those things really well. It's like if, let's say, a client does do something, an employee does something wrong, or accidentally does something wrong, or even deliberately does something wrong. And, you know, we have those people, and a boss goes in and balls at them. Bah, 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 bah. It doesn't matter what they've done deliberately wrong, or like that list I just mentioned. The way you are acting as a leader is still creating a disconnect. Whereas if you actually went in trying to get context, trying to have an understanding, a perspective, empathy, compassion, whatever you want to look at, they will walk away probably feeling a bit of shame and going, actually, right? You know, the leader's just spoken to me in a professional way. They've heard me. I feel seen, heard, and valued. They'll go away going, fuck, I did do wrong. And they'll come back probably working a lot harder for you the next day or the next coming months, right?
Isn't that an interesting thing? So really, when we talk about leadership, so go beyond, with connection. In my own journey, you know, like I'm a pleaser. And I recently got told through some self-work I was doing, you know, so Adrian, if you're going to be a pleaser, which is fine, because that's the nature of who you are, every time you shift your boundaries, you lose position in leadership. And so you need your values to stand strong, and your leadership, and with your values, your boundaries to be set. Doesn't mean that you won't adjust or grow or anything else, but your boundaries need to be strong, and that will challenge you being a pleaser, because sometimes you're not going to please people because your boundaries are going to cut across what they want. However, when that happens, when that happens, you are demonstrating leadership, because it's not out of meanness, or it's not out of any of those things. It's out of self, knowing where you need to get to with your values. And if your values are fucked up, then we've got another issue. But if your core values are good, and you maintain your boundaries, then you maintain your own self-leadership. And then with self-leadership, you can lead others. If you just be pleaser, and I went, okay, so I'm just pleasing, so I'm like a bloody yo-yo. So then I'm not in leadership.
Yeah.
And in business, I've found it far easier to be in leadership than maybe in relationships, because you're trying to please. In business, I'm aiming for a profit. I'm aiming for an outcome. I'm aiming for something for the client. I'm aiming for this. There's boundaries.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think one of my biggest values would be trust, because, we often hire. Simon Sinek I don't know if you know who Simon Sinek is. He did that whole graph thing with high performers. We normally hire the high performers of low trust, but that's usually the toxic person. But because they've got the data suggest they're doing really, really, really well. Trust isn't usually measurable. We can measure trust, but it's very, very hard and requires people to be vulnerable in that regard, for sure. And that's quite hard to do, because you can't make them be vulnerable, I suppose. But it's often that we should probably be hiring the low performers or mid performers of high trust. They will be the better leaders. It's 1 in a million to get the high performers of high trust. That is like 1 in a million. If you can get that, obviously, it's quite hard. I don't know the percentages. I'm sure there's,
but it's like,
it's rare. Yeah.
Okay.
It would be rare to hire the highest performer of high trust, because there might be another higher performance somewhere else, but the trustworthy isn't quite as there. So it's better to probably hire the medium performers of high trust, because then they have the allowance and the space to go, I got that wrong. I hear what you're saying. I like your viewpoint. I'm going to roll with that. They still, if it's all about looking good, they'll still look good in the long run, because they've heard someone else's point of view, idea, taken it on. Oh, it worked really well. And then if you give that away to the employee and go, I can't take credit for that. I'm going to give it to Jack. He was amazing through that. You still look even better anyway. But more often than not, they don't think of that, right?
Do you know, this whole thing around, say, leadership and values and even bullying in the business of design, and I'd say we could just go down architecture if we wanted, but we'll keep it a bit broader in design. So artists are by nature insecure, and designers by nature are insecure, because they're inventing something, they're creating something, especially in, say, architecture, you are creating a first concept that has to become the finished product. So there's an insecurity in there that drives you. There's a wanting to please. There's got to be a certain amount of ego so that you can deliver. But by nature, there's a lot of insecurity. And I know from friends of mine who have worked in different architectural firms all around the world, they will say that they can quite often be quite toxic, in the sense of that there is this name on the door, the partners, whatever, and their insecurities that they have around, staying valid, staying, the public or the clients are judging them. There's a ton of that happens, and then there's this sort of like overworking, toxic environment that occurs a lot
everywhere.
Maybe it's way more than just in architecture. I certainly know in architecture, like there's some horror stories around around how people can be treated. And I think back to my journey when I was doing clothes design. I sometimes would break the range at 2 days before presentation. I'd just break it. I'd just throw it all out. I'd go, we're all learned. We've all done learning. Now let's do it again. And when you're designing a house, if you get through too many iterations of it and all the rest, you're kind of fixing fixes, then fixing on fixes. The thing's wrecked at that point.
Yeah.
You need to go back. You break it. You go back, and you go back to what were the key principles that you were trying to get to? What did you learn from all this journey? Draw again. Start again. There's a real tendency for people to, because of computers, and even the pencil drawers like myself, there's a tendency to go, oh, that's a lot of work. But the insecurity part I have, it drives me to start fresh. I still got boundaries. I've still got things that I've got to work within. There's rules that I'm going to work within. But then clean it up and edit it and get it nice. Not a fix on a fix on a fix, 3 band-aids over the one old cut underneath. Just get it cleaned out and put a fresh band-aid on if that's what it needs, or just let it breathe, But I see that a lot, and I know I used to do it in the clothing trade. I'd be like, yep, we've worked hard for the last month. That's nothing like what we're going to work for the next 48 hours. Wow. And probably I was toxic in that sense as well. I'd be like, I'll do it on my own. But if you want to do it with me, here's the opportunity. But otherwise, I'll just do it on my own. I'll just take it over. And I know plenty of nights where I'd have had a couple of them working until 4 a.m. with me, because I'd go, we've got great stuff. It just isn't right. It's just not complete. And I'd hear these stories about people I knew, magazine editors and stuff, that would do the same thing, and I'd be like, that's just wrong. And then I go, you're one of them. I'd take a look in the mirror. But I'll do it with a house that I'm designing myself as well, and I go, I'm not being paid to do that again, but I'll still do it because I can't allow it not to be the best work that I can do.
On the flip side, though, on another job, you could do it twice as quick, and it's still amazing. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but you're being paid because of your. It's like that scenario about the oil rig. I don't know. He goes in there and fixes something wrong in the oil rig, and he's asked like, right, it's £20,000, please, and they're like, you were there for like 5 minutes. He said, yeah, but you paid me to fix the job, not for my time, because I'm experienced. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Absolutely. I know the story, and there's one with Henry Ford, and he gets a $10,000 bill, and back that'd be like giving somebody a couple of $100,000 bill now, and he gets a $10,000 bill, and with that he's like, he questions it, and the guy's like, yeah, it took me 30 minutes to discover where the problem was, and it took me 5 minutes or whatever it was to tell your engineers how to do it, and it took me 1 minute to make sure that it was right, or whatever the hell it is. And so it's $999,000 for whatever, $9,999 for the fix, and $1 for my time, or whatever the story is. But it's that, and it's experience. It's knowing where to look and how to look, and there is that. And
your integrity fell in there as well. Because they might have already been happy with the design that you finished at 9 o'clock at night, but you're like, it's not right in my mind, so we need to keep going.
Yeah, I think it's that insecurity thing. But then when you drive other people to be the same as you, I'm not sure that that's healthy.
Well, I think if you've given the option and they're inspired by you, they will work hard with you and continue to do that, right? So if you were a constant, I don't know, arsehole, they might quit the next week or something like that. He was horrible, but if you're inspired.
When I worked in corporate, I used to get a lot of shit from the other departments, so like our marketing department and stuff, because I'd go, it's Thursday afternoon, and there'd be this movie that would have come out, and I'd go, the design department's closed Thursday from lunchtime, and I'd take the team out for lunch, and we'd all go to the movies. And we would choose movies that often would be significant around either cultural things and how people would be clothed, and then also, or very fashionable, so you might go and see some rom-com or something, but there would be often a real purpose to what we could take from that movie. And then we would have some lunch, and we'd go to the movies, and then afterwards we'd all kick back and we'd go, okay, what did you see? What did you see? What did you see? Oh, how did you see that? What did you think of that? Where's that trending? Why is that happening? And so we'd use it as this kind of getaway. and it seemed like we were just all skiving off, but we used it so much as a driver to be better and to have a team atmosphere, team building, but a driver towards better design or better understanding of design or better understanding of human behavior with design. So, yeah.
Connection again, though, right? Not just connection as humans, but connection in the art and the design part of too, for chemistry, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm keen with your guests that you've had on. I mean, yes, I did. I loved Live Like a Lobster. I really enjoyed Emma Boardman as well.
She's great. Yeah.
And when I said to you before, I like your style, but beyond that, I've gone, oh, I really enjoy that guest. I enjoy that guest, and I'm not a trauma seeker in the sense of I'm not that empathetic. That I want to fall into somebody's trauma, but I'm very interested in their human behavior, and I'm very interested in masculine and feminine energy. We both have that. So every male has feminine and every female has masculine energy as well. But when it comes to the fore, and with the different people you've interviewed, most of them are very, very self-aware. They've journeyed and become self-aware. To expand on, masculine and feminine energy and what you've learned, I suppose. And I want to steal from what you've learned to make my understanding of my clients and when I'm public speaking and all those things stronger.
Yeah, it's a tough one, actually. I've never really focused necessarily. I mean, when we talk about emotions and I interview some of those experts, even the topics of masculinity and feminism hasn't femininity. I can't even say it. It's not.
Don't
really,
worry about that one. Just talk about masculine one.
Yeah.
Is that another one? Yeah.
It's weird because I've interviewed. I don't know the ratio of men versus women, but probably the same. At first, I got conscious. I've had too many women in one go. They're going to think it's a bit of a woman's podcast, but it's leveled itself out over time.
Yep.
And I've had athletes who are women. I've had athletes that are men. I've had experts who are women, and mental advocates who are men and women, and coaches that are men and women. So to define that's actually quite hard, because I've had some, like I say, some of the athletes that the male have not even been at the level of the female athletes. Mm-hmm. But if I was to think deeply about that individual, let's say, of trying to bring one up, Lauren was a former professional basketball player growing up in the UK, will be very feminine, but she has such a masculine. She could play basketball with the men. Like, she was that tough and that drive and strong. But that came from her father. I used to see him like rip into her as an 8-9-year-old girl, and she would cry. And he's one of my best friends. He was my second. He was the drummer, Don Johnson, number 2 episode. Yeah. He was the father of Lauren Johnson, who I think came at episode 12 or something like that. And he was actually here last year, staying over New Year with us. He's a famous drummer from a band called ACR, A Certain Ratio, based out of Manchester. But he would like get into her, but she wouldn't have it any other way. Like,
yeah, right.
She was she's masculine in the sense that drive and that desire to play basketball at the highest level. Boom. But is that masculine, or is that just human drive as a general? I'm still trying to work out. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I'm really keen for the audience to come back and tell us we're talking a load of shit here, or how they see it.
Probably is what I just said.
I do this thing with buildings where I'll go, is that building or house as a physical form, is it more masculine than feminine? And what does that mean? And
is that based on human traditional looking and appearance, though? I don't know.
No, it's more some things just have this very like brutalist architecture is masculine energy. It's like, here I am. I'm strong, I'm standing. Banks used to be columns and very strong looking buildings, like fortresses, masculine energy. Um, and then feminine energy would be discovery and pathways and texture and light falling in different ways. And so I'll look at a building and go, well, which one's this presenting to me in which way? Um, and then if you look at, well, the construct of all houses or all homes, all houses, we'll just go houses, we won't call them homes, people make them homes, the houses until then. All houses and apartments and buildings, almost all built forms other than art, are for the purpose of shelter. That's the purpose of them. And if I look at the difference between, say, feminine and masculine, women are far more flight than men. So I want to say they're like, horses. They're a flight animal. And I was listening to a study recently where they set a gun off behind, like you and your wife. They set a gun off.
Mm.
And they measured this with lots of people and they measured their reactions. Tell me what you think they got from their measurement, and I'll tell you what they got once you've told me what you think they got.
Well, my initial response in my head, my initial response was the man protected the woman by jumping in front of them in the position of where the gun came from. That's where I'm taking it. I'm guessing by the look of your face, it's not that. But did the woman run and the man step in front?
Pretty much. Both of them will drop to the ground,
Okay.
or get low.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
They both will do that. But what happens beyond that is if you measure their hormonal response.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
The woman seeks safety and flight. Get me to safety. The man seeks revenge.
Yeah. I knew you were going to go there then.
He's like, his testosterone goes up and he goes, right, he goes into warrior. And it's like, I'll protect, but I will also go find. I'll stop it.
Yeah.
And where the woman's is just get me out of here, get me safe, don't let me get hurt. And so then when we look at a home, the first response for a woman is safety. And if they can feel safe, often the second response is privacy. Now, men, on the other hand, are like, well, if you can see the house, somebody needs to see how big it is.
That's why I want a double-story house.
That's it. Oh, 3 stories. Yeah. Big garage.
Not overcompensating for anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm quite happy for the people to see me arrive and come and go. But this thing of masculine and feminine energy with that, if you want the sympathetic nervous system to, for a woman to come down, and then she moves into her more feminine nature in her home, then it's beautiful, or beautified, and it is safe, and it's private, and you can create your own rituals, your own traditions within it. And it's got a level of privacy that men aren't necessarily seeking. And so you get this. So I find these things, this masculine feminine thing, really, really fascinating. So there's a trend at the moment, which is brutalism, a return to brutalism. Uncertain times make something solid. And then that shifts how people's things are. But we want solid but feminine because we want nurturing, because it's uncertain times. We want to feel nurtured, and not just safe, but nurtured. So when you're talking with people, like Emma was one where her audaciousness, audacious
The
and
audition, yeah.
gracious. Yeah. Tell me what you learn from these things with those people. Like, I
She's
know what I learned from them when I listened to them, but yeah.
what did I mean from Emma's perspective? What did you learn from Emma's journey, Emma Boardman's? Because she's a deep, deep person. I mean, I had to
Yeah.
sit in that conversation, and I took a lot on that I'd never probably looked at
I'm the
before.
same as you. I went places in there that I was like, oh my God, okay. Like there's another level to that. Oh,
Yeah,
it's not just that surface piece, it's that next deep piece. I think the biggest things that was, I loved her thing about being audacious and having the balls to be. And then she talked about being able to be, because she's a driver, she's a powerhouse. She
yeah,
talked about being able to find her feminine energy and still maintain her drive and push.
yeah. Because she felt like she was always too much, but never enough.
Hmm.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, because I mean, she found out she was deaf live on TV.
Yeah, right. I
Yeah,
don't remember that piece. Right.
yeah. She would interview footballers and Ryan Giggs, who played for Manchester United, one of my club, and
Yeah.
huge. And she just thought it was normal, but she found out she was deaf on live TV, and she moved out of home when she was such a young person, because out of this small town, and now she lives in Mallorca in Spain, and she's fascinating and. But yeah, just she was never enough, but felt too much. And I think, do we all experience that at some point? I feel like I'm too much, but not enough. That's why I'm constantly looking for approval. I think deep down, I'm probably looking for approval off my mother and father, who I've never seen together, may I add. But I'm just looking for somebody to, I think deep down when I go into it, I'm probably, and I know they'll probably never listen to this, but I'm looking for someone just to say, I'm proud of you, but
Yeah.
I don't feel enough for them both. My dad was a big businessman, very successful in what he did, and my mum was hurt, constantly hurt, and and felt hurt, and
Yeah.
she's been quite down on life, and I wish I could help, and I think that's probably why the podcast slightly exists, because I'd love like 5% of it. I'd love her to just take something from these guests and go, if they can do it, so
I
can
can
I,
do it. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'd love her to, by the time she passes away, to go have some happiness in her life. And I know I live on the other side of the world and I should be closer, but I,
Yeah.
I, I just, I just can't,
Yeah.
I struggle to be
You've
that.
got to
So
live your life too.
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I'm running away from it, but yeah, I don't know. Probably there's a lot of things I probably can't say because I don't want to upset anybody's feelings on that one. But that's just, yeah, I feel like I'm looking for approval, and no one's even acknowledged the podcast exists, may I add, and just well, they've acknowledged it, but, never really said, oh, that was fascinating. Yeah, why? Yeah, this is cool that you're doing it. You don't even have to listen to it. I don't know. It's weird. So I'm looking for that approval. I'm not, in a way, not getting it. Like this little boy, he's asking for his mum and dad to say, hey, it's pretty cool. I'm proud of you. I don't maybe fully understand it, but I'm proud of you.
Does your partner listen to your podcast?
Yes, she did. Not as yeah, she
Just the
does. Yeah, no,
once,
she does.
or
No,
yeah.
yeah, no, she does. She does, but she does think they're a bit too long. But I'm like, well, I split it into two parts, and I can't. How can you cut these powerful journeys down into 40 minutes? You just can't. So it goes for about 75, and I split it
Yeah.
into two parts, and goes out on a Monday and Wednesday, and that way people come back and look. The algorithm's working for me, and it's really
Yeah.
doubled
It's
from.
working.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's working. So I can't cut it down. Some went for 3 hours, and I cut it down
Just
to
because
75.
she thinks it's too long doesn't mean
I know.
everybody else does.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing, like I do the TV show,
Mm.
and I think we all watched together the first episode.
Does anybody watch it now? Yeah.
No,
See,
I
same
do.
journey.
I
Yeah, you
do.
do. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's almost like I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna watch TV. I'm gonna watch this, like da 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 da, da. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. And then maybe they'll drift in or drift out.
Mhm. What
But
is it, do you think? Maybe you can answer the question that I've been constantly trying to answer myself. Do you know what it is? Why?
no,
Is it because they can't do it themselves or not willing to explore, or not that they necessarily want to, but
I'm just not that interesting the rest of the time. So why would I be more interesting when I'm on TV?
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's an odd one.
You know that thing of what is it? Familiarity breeds contempt. That saying, and I wonder if it's that. It's like I know that all these episodes of podcast in, and I will share. Sometimes I'll go, with some of my friends, I'll go, oh, I had this person, this relates so much to something that you've talked to me about. And I'll share the episode with them. And they'll go, how do I get that? I'm not on that platform. So they're not listening to it otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing. That's why I asked you the question. I remember, my daughter coming to one of my keynotes because she could, and a bit by her own choice. And, it was a room with 650, 700 people in it. And,
Didn't care.
well, no, she was really proud of me. She was really proud of me.
Oh, good.
And she came of her own kind of volition to come and see that. And I felt loved.
Amazing.
I felt loved. I felt like she was like, Dad, you were amazing. That was, I thought it was just so, and people really loved it, and da 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 da. And it wouldn't matter how many people I spoke to afterwards or whatever else, I felt loved.
Yeah,
I felt
absolutely.
validated and loved, and that my daughter was proud of me.
That's it. I know. It's funny this has actually come up because just 2 days ago on Facebook, one of my friends from primary and high school, she's got her own children's program and facility and stuff like that. And she actually put a comment and going, is it, when she shares stuff about her business on Facebook, she acknowledged it. And look, that's the sad world that we're living in, that we need likes and comments and shares. But I do feel her pain a little bit. Like nobody acknowledges the posts and just goes, I love what you're doing. Like,
That's it. Yeah.
It is sad. And not that I think we should need it, but we are living in that world. And just a comment or like, I might fancy this one, write that down. And, but we'll go and make Will Smith more famous than he already is by sharing his stuff and a comedian, which, don't get me wrong,
not saying don't do it. Yeah.
But one of your friends who's doing something they're passionate about, we don't press a button just to show our support as well. I don't know. It is an odd world we live in. I can't believe I just said that, but it is true. And I do feel it, and I can't help how I feel, right? If
there's a reframe to it. I think one of the things that working in designing houses, one of the things that, again, I've experienced, which made me feel, this is stupid, man, this is stupid, made me feel loved, is being in the car with my daughter, my eldest daughter, and one of her friends, and we're all driving along. I'm driving, and we're chatting and stuff, and then my daughter says, "Oh, Dad designed that house."
Yeah.
And her friend's like, "Oh wow, really?" Like, and she's like, "Yeah, that's one of his." Well, what else around here is from him? And she says to me, "Is there any others around here?" I say, "Oh, there's one in the street back there or whatever." And her friend goes, "Can we see it?" And I'm like, "Sure, if you really want to." But just that, again, isn't it crazy what makes you feel validated? And you saying that thing around just wanting the feeling of that they're proud of you, somebody to tell you they're proud of what you've done, but somebody who's that close to you, is what other people might tell you they're proud of what you've done, but somebody that's that close to you that you're seeking validation from.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, on the flip side of that, right? There's been people who have come out the woodworks and gone, love what you do. But it's taken a year to say it. It's not that they weren't thinking it the entire time. It's just that the message eventually got through to me. And I'm like, oh, they have been watching for a year and I had no idea. So that does happen too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's interesting.
I think one of the things that happens with the podcast is that it's set in time now. It's there.
Forever. Yeah.
And, like I was talking to Carly today and we were talking about TEDx and TED and stuff. And she goes, if you've done a TEDx or a TED, it's there. It's there. It's there forever. It's going to stay there. People will find it, look at it, hear it, do all the things with it. It will become a piece of whoever you are in the world. And I think that with architecture, we leave something physical behind that can't travel, can't go anywhere, just stays where it is. And so a number of people get to experience it, but everybody gets to judge it.
Yeah. I've been trying to go back to your feminine and masculine,
feminine. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've not answered it well, and I've been trying to relay and analyze it because I've not analyzed that particular part. But when I'm trying to analyze the guest and the female verses, I do have some reflection upon our discussion since then, and I feel like a lot the women tend to have that professional response to their scenario, whether it's toxic relationships, sexual abuse, cancer, and they look at it from I mean, it's all quite holistic anyway, but they bring the science and have that professional response. But, everyone's different and we all have to treat ourselves. Whereas the guys are a little bit more, this is how it should be done. This is how what works for me. And they're a bit more direct in it and not so, yes, the science will back up what they're trying to say if it's relevant.
Yeah.
But they're a bit more, and I think I'm more like that. But people remind me, because you're the face of the podcast, you can't be. You've got to be quite open and relaxed. And I'm like, I struggle with it. And but I know you should do this because you will feel better because it worked for me. So
yeah. I get that. Yeah. You've become prescriptive.
Yeah,
you become prescriptive. Yeah,
but I can't be really. And I feel like I'm learning a lot from the women's side. And it's not to say all, but the women's side, they'll come from all perspectives, probably. Right. And I do look at perspectives. I really do. But the women are definitely probably better at it than me. And whereas the men are a little bit more
based on their own. Interesting.
Yeah. So I just didn't. Yeah, I wasn't happy with my response, and I just went in my mind with it. And I think that's the best scenario. But going forward, I'm probably going to be analyzing that paradigm a little bit deeper now.
Yeah. Look, I find it fascinating, and because you interview people and they are telling stories from vulnerability
and for sure,
from from places of their heart. I go, I'm always listening and looking for it, and so then I'm like, okay, well, what have you found in there? Because yours are probably way more vulnerable than mine. Well, no, definitely way more vulnerable than mine. And because yours are about health and a lot about mental health and people busting through barriers or coping with, making strategies to cope. I think that it's fascinating to look at what those are, what kind of the key drivers of that are. And the one that I see in housing a lot is masculine and feminine energy. And maybe it's because most houses, for the main part, if it's a custom home, it's a couple. And in my client base, it would be 85% heterosexual 15% would be gay, but otherwise it would be. And the fascinating thing with the gay couples is there's still one that operates more from their feminine energy and one that operates more from their masculine energy at different pieces of the process. Whereas if it's heterosexual, they tend to play their roles, their masculine feminine role a little more succinctly, a little stronger.
Yeah. When I started thinking about building, because we built this house, I didn't think about those, like the borders. I don't know what you call them. You're the expert, but the borders down on the bottom,
the skirting board.
Skirting boards. That's it. I would have just been. I wouldn't have thought the extra length, but we've got these nice little layers and curves in it.
So it's got a prettiness in it.
Prettiness, right? Whereas I would have like skirting board down there. Let's go.
Get that done.
Yeah. I just wanted the electrical doorknob so I could use the keypad to get in, but I always go through the garage, so I never use the damn thing anyway. But that was the only thing I contributed to the house. That was my masculine energy, and where I'm going to put the TV brackets.
Right. Yeah. Isn't it interesting? Like, I always think of it a little bit like a woman or a man getting dressed. A man gets dressed, he pulls on some jocks, some socks, and some pants and a shirt. And a woman gets dressed and puts lotion all over herself first, and she paints her toenails, and she shaves her legs, and she prepares her body to get the clothes to come onto it, and then she maybe puts makeup, and then she adorns it with jewelry. And you go, okay. Yeah. And I kind of look at that journey and go, we have to honor both, and especially in a home.
Yeah, so true.
And let both parties be seen. Yeah. Let them be seen and be heard. And that's something that I think like that you do on your podcast really well, as you make people, you definitely hold space for people to be seen and heard. And I suppose that's what a podcast's about, but like you have a fantastic ability to do that.
Thanks, man. No, you've given me many compliments tonight, so I have to say thank you for that. No, you've done a great job tonight too. But it's odd me being on someone else's podcast. So first of all, I appreciate it, and thanks for the commentary. But I'm getting all blush and embarrassed.
Well, I think one of the things that for my listeners, go and have a listen. Definitely go and have a listen of Lead Your Own Way, Our Own Way. Your book.
Yeah.
Get hold of your book. And
I can't take credit for this. It's Mike Nichols. He was already a best-selling author before me, and he was one of the best defensive basketball guards in the UK, and he did a lot of. We were going through similar things at the same time, and I made a joke going into the car park of that place that I built. I didn't build. I was a part of the team that was built, and I was just counting the minutes down of going in the car park and then going into the work and then looking to leave. I was desperate to get out of there, and it was just eating me away every day. And I just made a joke to him and said, God, we could write a book about this, couldn't we? And he said, well, why don't we? And he kind of pushed me into it. And that crossed my mind when we were talking about it earlier in the beginning of the episode is, if it wasn't for him pushing me, I would have stayed in my victim mentality, and he put and that was very therapeutic. We're not even here to sell books. We don't really sell that many. We were actually best-selling book in the opening weekend on Amazon, by the way. However,
nice. But you're not here to sell books.
No, well, we weren't. Like we made it for free, right? Yeah. So we obviously promoted it and got it. So we didn't make any money off those sales, and it was PDF form. It wasn't the actual hardback. But it was a therapeutic response for us writing it. We needed to go through that, but we also wanted to be therapeutic because chapter 1, it's kind of like that Sir Marco Robinson style. We collected stories from workplace bullying and toxic environment scenarios, and so it's therapeutic for them. It's therapeutic for us. It's not as pretty as the Start Over movement. That is much better than ours. But chapter 2 was kind of intertwined into a personal development chapter. So we integrated threaded some of the scenarios into a response in the personal development chapter. And then chapter 3 was like the human side of leadership. We really wanted to show leaders, if you do not lead with purpose, this is the impact on people's lives that you will have. What Mike and I had been through personally through toxic relationships or toxic leaders and bullies. So that was really where it came from, and it was just therapeutic for everybody involved. And but I just want people to get up every morning and go to work happy. But there's a deeper level to that. If I could write a book now, it wouldn't. What I've learned in this journey in the last 4 years of reading the book about the brains and human physiology and so on, you can't lead with purpose if you're not living with purpose.
Oh, authenticity.
Yeah, and but I had to do that, right, to understand that. So it's like if I wrote a book now, it would be like a prequel to it, and get into the root of mental health decline. And where do we start? Well, I think if you're looking at a cellular level, you would start at your mitochondria, because if your mitochondria is healthy, you've got the tools to be able to cope with everything that will come your way. And then obviously the brain as well, and it's that unity there, as we mentioned before. If we can keep those connecting and looking at them, a neurologist, for example, only looked up to the head up like till 10 years ago. That's crazy.
So with that, if you go back over the 4 years that you've been, deeply committed and involved in creating this body of work that you've created so far, the Andrew of 4 years ago to the Andy now, what have those things that, what have been the, give me some big shifts in, I want to say, in your physiology as well as in your psychology? I think, and where did you get them? Who gave them to you?
Who gave what to me?
Those shifts. Where did the light switch get flipped?
Well, when I nearly passed away with septic shock in Geelong Hospital. That was when the pain of staying the same was gonna be far worse than making a shift and making that change. So, I started with reading the book Sleep, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. This book here. I
don't know that book.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Matthew Walker's been on a few podcasts, famous, huge podcast. I'd love to have him on, but it's very hard to read.
You're probably listening, so jump right on Andy. So if you can get in touch with Andy, that'd be useful. Yeah.
Well, I started reading that, and I think sleep is very interesting. I think we don't ever think about sleep, right? And it's so basic. Well, we just all fall asleep, and we all do it. But I think sleep is the first point. I think sleep and exercise and obviously food, nutrition, and the things we're putting into our body are the three main components. And I really looked at all of them eventually, but sleep is where I started, because if you think about it, sleep doesn't make sense. And I'll tell you why. Because the three innate things that we want to do as humans is eat, defend ourselves, and reproduce.
And have sex. Yeah.
Well, yeah, reproduce. But they're the three things you can't do when you're sleeping. Yet the brain hasn't evolutionized sleep out of the human repertoire. So that's how important sleep really is. So I started to look at I came across words about the brain, and I just don't understand it. I understand the concept they're trying to talk about, but I don't understand what the prefrontal cortex, and I don't know what the amygdala is, and the hippocampus is, and all of that. And I'm like, I'm just guessing. So you start to Google the things, and I thought, nah, I need to go deeper. So I bought some brain books, and then I went from there. I don't understand what that is, and it's connected to the mitochondria, or to the cellular level. And then I go to Outlive by Peter Attia. He did the Limits show with your Australian actor Chris Hemsworth.
Oh yeah,
they did on Amazon.
Amazing series. Yeah, both
amazing series.
Amazing series.
Yeah. So, and I watched that, and I read his book Outlive, and he talks about the 4 horsemen of death. Cardiovascular disease, metabolic disease, cancer, and neurodegenerative diseases.
There's a fifth. More women are in prison for murdering their husbands than any other thing.
Yeah, but if you looked after all the other things first, like your mitochondria, she wouldn't have got to the point of wanting to murder people, maybe. So, and things
prevention,
like that.
Not cure.
Yeah, prevention, right? That's right. So root cause, and I started to read about the cells, and I'm like, this is fascinating. So all my books are all like puzzles, right? I've not read a book and focused on one. I've read parts of it and gone, right, well, I don't know enough about this bit he's talking about, and I need to go to this lady's book here. And then that's when I went, when I was in the bookstore at Bow and Heads, I saw the content page of our favorite, Live Like a Lobster.
Right.
I was like, this is everything all in one. So I was reading it in bed, and I was like, I'm going to message Bridget and see. And then I messaged you, responded, and we spoke for like 6 months, and we became mates, like you and I are doing.
Yeah, wow.
Pretty much the same. Just reach out, you build a connection up, you do a pre-chat, and then you have a pre-chat for 3 hours. Then you do the recording, and you just form these these beautiful relationships. So yeah. So going back to your original one was sleep. I focused on sleep, and then
So what did you change to get better sleep?
Yeah.
What habits, tics, prayers? What did you change?
Started with the morning.
You're awake then.
Yeah. Well, I started with the morning routine, and that prepares you better for the night. So I would get up with the sunrise, get my circadian rhythm set, go for a dog walk and get the sunlight on my skin, the healthy sun on my skin, really lift up those vitamin D3 levels, and which led me to be clearer throughout the day. I'd actually throw some cold plunges in. That was probably one of my my first things, cold showers. I read about living with anxiety, and a guy was in the UK, just couldn't get outside, but he started doing cold showers for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and he built it up to really quite long, 15, but there's no scientific evidence to say the longer the better. There's a therapeutic response to the body that the body goes through in around 3 to 4 minutes at a certain temperature. So the body goes through everything it needs to. So I learned that. It took me a year to even learn that. So, but I did start off with cold showers, thinking, well, if he can do it, why can't I? So I started with 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and I built myself up to the 15-minute, the same method as him. And then I've got a spa outside, a blow up spa. I won't heat it. The ground's cold, sitting at like 5 degrees, and I train my body, and I do my breath work in there. And then I started to look at how my body.
So you added breath work
in the cold plunge one. I'm don't take me advice on that. That's what I did. I've heard people say don't do that. But I do, to let me get through the cold and the struggle and the challenge. And sometimes I don't do it so I can stay present in the cold as well and not distract myself from the cold. So I mix it up a little bit. And I don't do it the weekend because I want my body to get used to the shock not get used to the shock on Monday as well. So I get excited about stuff like this. So I just started with the cold plunge. I think that was probably one of my first physical acts. And then look, I'm not perfect. I've not done my morning walk for a long time. But then I started to lift weights and just got stronger. Going back to the cold plunge, I noticed that through reflection, if someone had said something negative to me or whatever, the old Andy would have gone and lost loads of sleep over that I've upset somebody or whatever. And I noticed, not that I want to be mean to people, but I noticed if someone had said something to me, oh, that's rolled off my back. Yeah. Whereas the old Andy would have probably sweated and gone and had to take the shirt off at the toilet and dry himself off again because of anxiety coming out, right? But I didn't notice it in the moment. I noticed it through self-reflection later on that day. So I'd build on that and make those little mental notes. And I would advise people to probably write that stuff down, but time gets in the way and you're busy, you got kids or whatever it is, you struggle, don't you? You don't have a piece of paper or your pad with you. So I noticed those things would get better and I just build on that. But it's like my dopamine hit would be there for 200, 400% longer. I'd be clearer. My clarity, my focus. Then I started to fast. So I never really ate breakfast anyway, but because I got rid of sugar, I got completely rid of sugar for a while. I do have an 80-20 rule now, but I did go 100% at the time and I got rid of sugar completely. I think that's
a lot of inflammation in your body dropped at that point as well.
Yeah. So I reversed ankylosing spondylitis in my lower back.
What?
I reversed, not cured, ankylosing spondylitis. It's an autoimmune. What the hell's that? Yeah, it's an autoimmune issue. Yeah, inflammation in the lower back. And I had that for 9 years. And usually it's a young person's disease, but I got it at 30.
That's still young.
Yeah, well, yeah. They normally get it between 15 and 30, so I got it at the end, which I'm very happy about. But I'm thinking to myself, well, the doctors have said there's no cure to this. You've got this for life now. So to pain release at night when you're sleeping, when you're stuck in the same position, the cells would inflame, and I'd be having to readjust constantly. But that affects your sleep, which affects the next day, affects your mood, your responses, and so on. But I noticed through eating clean and doing cold plunges, my pain slowly stopped hurting in the night. Now it's back. If I eat chocolate or sugary, I notice it's like a hangover. I feel the pain. So I've not cured it, but I've reversed it. Oh, I did. It's slowly, it's kind of back at the moment.
Because you're not being disciplined.
Yeah, I've not formulated those habits again. So we've just cleaned out the garage. I'm going to start on the weights, and then I'm going to got my cold plunge re-cleaned and ready to go. And when the schools go back on Monday, I'm going to get stuck into going hard again. And I feel better doing it that way rather than doing it slowly. I feel like I need to go hard and my habits stick.
That's masculine energy.
Right. I was going to say.
Jump right in.
Jump right in.
Just be a warrior. Just be a warrior. Let the testosterone carry it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I know, I agree. But I can't give that advice usually. I have to be diplomatic if that's the way.
Yeah, well, I find it really interesting, because you started with sleep, but you started with the morning. And so I thought when you said you started with sleep, you were going to tell me you went to bed at 8:30 or something.
No, yeah. So your morning routine has to start to secure you better that night. Yeah, with the right sun levels, getting the right sun in the day in the morning. I don't eat I try not eat in the dark because your melatonin will clash with your glucose spikes, and they're two separate systems that shouldn't be really working together. They've got to separately work.
Just take me through that. The not eat in the dark.
Well, if you go back to cavemen, they wouldn't be able to eat, would they? They'd be eaten in the day, and then when they didn't have light at night, the moon would come. The moon would come out, or the sun would go down, and your melatonin doesn't necessarily help you sleep. It helps the body get ready to prepare for sleep. That's what melatonin does. It's like imagine a race, an athletic race. The guy who's shooting the gun is letting the runners know it's time to run.
That's your melatonin.
Is the shooter. Yeah.
It's the shooter. Yeah, right.
So I started to, I would eat maybe 2 or 3, I wouldn't eat about 3 hours before bed, which perfect here in Australia. It would still be light.
Yeah.
And then kind of dim the lights before bed. So I'm contradicting myself now because it's 10 to 11 at night and we've got all the lights on, but slowly dimming the lights during the night. I'm not perfect at this because of my podcast, but get rid of technology probably before bed. If I was giving someone else that advice, I should be doing that myself, but it's really hard with the podcast. But again, habits, right?
Yeah.
I'm only human and I do get it wrong, but understanding the brain, that's really what we should be doing. You want to lower the body temperature as well. So having a hot shower before bed, and when you come out, your body temperature naturally goes down.
Why?
Well, your body needs to sit around, I think it's around 17, give or take. You want the body to drop a degree because it gets cooler in bed. So you want to
So
relax.
why don't you have a cold shower rather than a hot shower?
You're going to stimulate everything, and you don't want to do that. You want the body to relax. You want the body to calm down.
So you have a hot shower.
Have a hot shower, yeah.
That cools your body down.
Well, because when you have a hot shower, it's hot, and then when you turn it off, you're getting into colder air.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Thank you for
then you jump into bed, and your body temperature will continually drop. The air in the room will slowly get cooler throughout the night. But as the morning rises, naturally our body's cortisol is released. That's how you wake up. Your stress hormone releases, and that's how you wake up. Good cortisol. Obviously, a lot of cortisol is bad for you, but it's a good cortisol. It opens up, gets you to wake up, and then the temperature will increase, and that's how you slowly come out of your sleep zones. And you've got but you prepare by doing those right things in the day. You're allowing your body to go into all the healthy different sleep zones, and you see your light REM, your deep REM, and your deep sleep zones. Otherwise, sugar, for example, probably would impact your sleep patterns at night. Alcohol, certainly. Ultra processed foods will have all in the side impacts to your brain throughout the night. Because I think this when you're in the REM zone, I think your brain's 30% more active than it is when you're awake.
Yes. So I didn't realize that about the heat. about the having a hot shower before you go to bed, so that I often have a cold shower before I go to bed, which is probably the opposite of what I should do. I
Again, right, I'm not the expert, so don't take
no,
my
no,
medical
no, no,
advice on
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but if you think about it, the cold shower will shock you and it'll shock the body, and it gets the body to start to defend itself, which means it
yes,
isn't relaxing.
yes,
And
yeah.
so
It's
for the
it's
body
an
to defend
action.
itself,
Yeah,
yeah, that's why I do the cold showers in the morning, because the body's essentially, we've trained ourselves to be comfortable, and cold showers are no longer comfortable. Whereas back in the day, we'd have cold water all the time. We didn't
that's
have
all
hot.
we had. Yeah,
That's all we had. But we've invented these beautiful things, and hot showers help us feel comfortable. And that's why we class it. I suppose going back to that guy, it was traumatic on his skin,
yes,
but I wanted that impact, but on my brain as well. So to respond to trauma,
mm,
even though it's not
mm,
real trauma, but it's traumatic because we're like,
mm,
yeah.
mm.
So yeah, so I would do all those little things, and I definitely noticed when I started to lift a little bit of weights in the morning,
Yep.
I definitely slept better that night, and yeah, I really focused on my sleep, really, and but it integrated with the other things, which ultimately benefited me as well, through movement, through getting out more, getting in
Mm.
the sun more. I have a border collie, so just
All
being
right.
out with her all the time
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
me out, right? So yeah,
It's fascinating. I find it really interesting. I mean, having a routine, but you've looked at it, like in way, way, way more depth than me. And I have a routine that's somewhat similar. Um, yeah, but I changed my diet to keto about three, maybe coming up 4 years ago,
amazing.
and I fast if I'm speaking on stage.
Me
I
too.
will
Yeah.
go minimum of 36 hours fasting before, and often
Wow.
48.
For
Um,
focus.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I've got no idea what I'm going to say.
it works out.
No, I've got a plan, but it's yeah, I don't know the bits that come in between the headers. There's a header and there's a timer, and somewhere in there I've got to deliver value about the subject. Of course, I know the subject, but I don't know exactly what. I wait for it to arrive,
And does it?
always.
There you go.
And it
Game
arrives
changer.
better. It arrives better if I'm fasting and if I've slept well. Yeah,
It's funny that, isn't it?
yeah. Odd that shit. Yeah.
That's it. And that's the
Uh,
other thing with the pattern of the podcast, right? We all talk about morning routines. Everyone who's made a change usually has a morning routine. That's another pattern I have noticed. And choices, that we all have choices.
Something I like to do, I interview a lot of Americans. And one of the reasons I interview a lot of Americans is my 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. is their afternoon. And in the morning, male biorhythm, 24 hours. Um, I'm in analytics.
Mm.
In the afternoon, I'm not in analytics, I'm in creative. And so to stay, for me, I get them in creative and me in analytics.
Mm.
And so having seen the difference between doing it at different times, I really love the me in analytics, them in creative, and I can be more playful. Isn't that,
Interesting.
isn't it? And
Mm.
I noticed that, and in talking to some people and then listening to other podcasts, I heard something about this, and I went, well, I'm going to do a bit more study on that. And so I did, and then it's like, oh yeah, well no, you're in analytics in the morning because of the way your biorhythm works, and then you'll be in creative somewhere around that lull time, and you'll get a creative spurt through there. And so I also hack my alpha brainwaves all the time. Like I hack them a lot, and so with that, I can be in creativity when I want to be.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
I've studied it and hacked. I've learnt to hack it, and so with that, it means that I can be, my subconscious can be operating while I'm in my beta brainwaves. But yeah, the fasting, the morning light. One of the things I love about living in Queensland, and in fact you can do it anywhere, but living in Queensland is our temperatures where I live. It's never that cold and it's never that hot. It gets hot and it gets cold, but it's doable. It's very doable without air conditioning. And with that, one of the things that I do love is that I can open the house up and feel the cold air on me or the warm air on me or the breeze, and that peace of being still under shelter but close to nature.
Perfect. Even just looking at trees, apparently there's scientific evidence to know. Even having a plant, if you live in an apartment, you had extra time to your life or extra health.
And if you make the plant, if you put a fan so the plant moves a bit, even if it's plastic,
mimics wind and
it mimics it.
Yeah. Wow. There you go. I love it.
There's a lot that we can do that hacks our stuff, but there is no thing better than it being real.
Of course, you can't be real. I talk about hack is when you wake up in the morning, before you wake up, smile. Just smile.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, the brain doesn't know you're smiling. It knows you're smiling, but it doesn't know why you're smiling. So the trajectory of your day will probably be better because you've smiled and the brain's recognized it.
Before you open your eyes, if you
can. Yeah. If you remember to do it. I struggle to do it when I'm, it's real hard, but training the brain, you'll probably get used to it and myelinate it and get comfortable, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. That's so interesting, man. What a fascinating chat. And I feel like I spoke way too much myself and didn't listen enough. I did listen a lot, but I really enjoyed, digging into these different pieces and making the parallels and then learning from how you do things. So appreciate your time. Appreciate your time.
I'm honored to come on, mate. Jeez. Yeah.
For guests who are listening, I would suggest first and foremost, go and tap into your podcast and scroll through a whole bunch and just pull a couple out and just see what you think about that one, or look for something that resonates for you and start there. But it isn't singly dimensional. It is multi-dimensional. So if that one's doesn't ring your bell, go straight to another one and try another one. Your style is very, very interesting to listen to, and your guests are fantastic. As I say, I get told about a podcast every day, and it takes quite a bit for them to stick for me. And I'm really enjoying your podcast, and I feel like I'm on a journey with you when I'm listening to your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
As opposed to just on a journey with me. Yeah. I feel like I'm learning with you as I go along. And I think, Trav would tell you something similar. And if you want to go and listen to Trav Bell's podcast, it's a bucket list guy.
I've got his book here as well.
Yeah, your bucket list lifestyle. Interesting, birds of a feather flock together. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, man, they're beautiful words. And actually, you probably can't see them. I'm starting to tear up, so I appreciate it. It means the world to me. But please, anyone go and follow. But more importantly, we've created a great friendship, and I appreciate that. And you're going to join me on my podcast and share your vulnerability. So I appreciate that, and we'll film that in the next few months, and we'll be out later this year. So tune in for that one too.
Yeah,
and congratulations on you being in top 20 of your category as well.
Yeah, which I know. How cool's that? I was very excited by that. It like as I said, when I meet the person who listens, I'm really, really grateful for them.
Oh, no. I'm the same. I don't know who's listening, but if you go right down to the bottom of my profile, there's an episode that's just me. It's not a guest, and it goes, "Hello, is anybody out there?"
I've been to it. I love it. Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate you. Keep doing the amazing work that you do. I think that it's bringing so much value to your listeners. It brings value to me, so I don't care about the rest of them. I'm happy if you just keep bringing value to me.
Oh, you're awesome, man. Thank you for coming into my life. You've been, we've got a bit of a good friendship now, and I hope we meet up on you.
Oh, we will, without a doubt.
Definitely. Love it.
Thanks, buddy. Man. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thank you for tuning into our conversation. I hope it left you both informed and inspired. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen, and please don't hesitate to share your design thoughts with me. It's always a joy to hear from you. If you're like me and crave a deeper dive into design thinking, coupled with a love for travel and adventure, consider one of my architectural adventures. Join me and some of my wonderful design friends and embark on a journey of a lifetime. Apply for an unforgettable design experience at adrianramsay.com. With our clients spanning the globe, I firmly believe behind every great project are great people. If you're a great person and seeking to turn your dream into a reality, I'd be honored to design your home with you. Why not join the ranks of our exceptional clients and let's make your heart sing? Reach out to me at studio@ardesignhouse.com. That's studio@ardesignhouse.com, and let's get a conversation going and make your heart sing.